Let's call this meeting into order. We're going to do a roll call. Richard Cardone, present.
Marie Bryan, present.
Olivia Montgomery, present.
Darrell Brown, present.
Clerk Geik, present. Okay, we'll go to 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll go to 1.3. Citizens, please sign in the attendance sheet if you haven't already. Going to go to 1.4, call the audience. It does look like we do have a submission. We'll have Brent Hawks.
It was off. Are you serious? So no one heard that?
No,
Start
no,
again.
Start again.
We
Don't
did.
start again. We heard it. We heard
Start
it.
again?
No,
No,
we
we
not
did-
3
we
more
heard
minutes
you.
of that.
Okay. Well, that's terrific. Anyways, it bothers me a little bit. I could be way out of line. I don't know, but it just seems kind of odd. That's not really why I wanted to come here tonight. My kids don't go here. They're in the charter school system. It breaks my heart. But I have taken I do care. I do care about this school district. And I just can't help but look at these press releases. I'd like to, I only have time to cover one, so I'd like to look at the last one. This one's fascinating to me. This one, it says, Dr. Richard calls on Bo Helms and John Warren to stand up for working class families. Now, we got Bo's name wrong, so we sent out a new one. I think if you're going to call somebody out, you need to at least know their name. And in it, you say, I am asking them to call upon the charter schools in the area to join CRUHSD in eliminating all pay-to-participate fees for student athletes and all class fees, yaddy-dotty-dotty. CRUHSD eliminated them first. Now others should do the same. Bo and John, come on, boys, action, action, action. Now, a day after that, Grace published an article on her website, Make Bullhead Better. Press release sparked community debate on student-athlete fees. And in it, she interviewed all 4 charter schools and found that 3 out of the 4 don't require kids to pay at the time that your press release was released. So I can't help but think that this is probably the worst example of virtue signaling and posturing I've ever seen in my life. You didn't get Bo's name right, and you didn't do your research about the charter schools. I think from what I'm seeing is that you feel pretty comfortable sitting behind your castle wall, firing arrows off at the charter schools, the Mojave Valley fire chief, the corrupt and ineffective administrators who have all found jobs at other school districts, which makes me wonder, whoever's hiring them, do they have are they desperate, or is this an animal farm? Like, it really surprises me. I would like to see, as well as the community, for you to open up your gate and perhaps exercise some diplomacy instead of firing off arrows at everyone, hiding behind your castle. I've talked to many people in this community, a lot of your employees, former employees, And I know a lot of people. And I can't find, now maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but I'm not finding a lot of happy people with the job that's being done here. And maybe I'm not finding the king's men, and I need to look a little bit harder, but it's pretty frustrating. It's divisive, it's polarizing, and it's doing no one any favors here.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to 1.5. We're going to motion to adjourn to a public hearing for discussion of fiscal year 2025-2026. Do we have a motion?
Motion 1.5.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, we're going to have we have adjourned. This is a public meeting here for discussion. If anyone has any comments on fiscal year 2025, 2026, we're going to time it, try and do a 3-minute limit on the time constraint. So if anyone wants to do it, go ahead and do it now. And I'll allow a little time to go by. If no one steps up, we will move on. No problem. Okay, I think a reasonable amount of time has expired. It looks like no one has any public comment, which means we are going to reconvene, and we're going to move on to 2.1, discussion of fiscal year 2025-2026 expenditure budget.
Mr. President, members of the board, Ms. Moore did present this at the last board meeting. If there's any questions, Ms. Moore is here. Otherwise, I recommend it's just a discussion if there's any questions, clarifications.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to 3.1, reconvene. We are reconvened. 3.2, governing board, the executive session. Do we have a motion in executive session?
Make a motion that we proceed to executive session for 3.2.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I need to recuse myself from executive session, please.
Duly noted. Okay, we are adjourned for executive session. Motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve Agenda 5.2.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, moving on to 5.3. Real quick, Darlene, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I can hear you just fine, thank you. Moving on to 5.3, Superintendent's Report.
Mr. President, members of the board, I just have one item. In your stack of stuff, you should have an invitation to our district convocation, which is on July 23rd at 8:30 a.m. It'll be right here in the field house. Something we've been doing for the past 3 years, and it's just a fun event. It lasts about an hour to an hour and a half. We have the students here, the cheerleaders, football players, the band. We welcome all the teachers back to school. We do breakfast. We have a guest speaker. Just kind of I describe it as a pep assembly for our staff to get everyone pumped up. I know that many of you do probably work during these hours, but I want to extend an invitation if you would like to come. Our teachers and students would love to see you there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can attend it, I will. I'm unsure at this time. Okay, that concludes 5.3. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or would someone like to pull something?
No, I'm okay with approval of the consent agenda. My motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Perfect. Okay, moving on to 7.1, discussion and possible action on present learning, providing various services, therapies, and assessments.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is something we request annually. The cost is roughly $140,000, which is over the $100,000 procurement limit, so we will need board approval. But we have a number of students. We do not have an occupational therapist on staff or a speech therapist on staff, and we have about 86 students that qualify for these services. So this is a outside contractor that provides those services for our special needs students.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. On this contract, if you could go to, I'm not sure what page, is at the beginning of the contract. It has annual estimates, but then it only has a 6-month interval. Now, you kind of answered it by saying roughly a number double. Yeah, on that page, just go slow, and stop right there. Like it says on the right side, annual estimate, but, all right, just hold steady. But then on the left, it says service order term 7/15/25 to 12/25, which is clearly not a year. So when you see that annual estimate, that can't be right. And also, it said dedicated service period underneath there. There's a discrepancy because then it says it's from August to December. So when I see these discrepancies, I either don't understand what they're saying, or somebody's haphazardly writing stuff down there from their company. That's the first question.
Okay, sure. So my understanding is this is per semester, so it's that estimate of 78,000 that would be for the first semester.
But they have annual there. That's the part that I don't
I see what you're
understand what that means. That doesn't, it seems like there's some buffoonery with that. They just like typing stuff in, annual, whatever, just give me the money.
Yeah. My understanding is that it's 78,000 per semester. So the total would go over the $100,000 procurement limit.
So that annual thing they wrote there is an error.
That must be an error or an oversight on their part.
Okay.
That's what my guess would be.
Now, my next question is this. Is this like, what if the kids don't use that? Is that, we're paying it if no one uses it or everyone uses it? Do we know that?
Ms. Covert is here because she's the one who actually negotiated it, but I believe it's roughly, is it $200 per student. Is that correct, Ms. Colbert?
Yes, this service is written into their individual education plans, and so therefore the students are pulled from class according to a schedule that we create.
Yeah, but that's not my question.
And they receive the
Just listen to my
service.
question. My question is very specific. Is this amount of money we pay, regardless if the kids use it or not, or if, say, they don't use it as much, we don't pay that much? Or maybe if they use the hourly thing, maybe it could be more than that? That's my question.
If they didn't use the service, then it would drop down because those service hours won't be provided. However,
So
the
it would be
only-
less than that, that's what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yes, but the only way that can happen is if we have an IEP meeting and the parent removes them from those services. So if a kid is absent the day they're supposed to receive the services, we're required to make up that session with the child.
Okay. Okay, I'm still a little bit confused, because how many kids need this service?
We currently have 82 students enrolled with speech and language and pathology needs, and several of those students are also OT needs. So our SLP provider will be a full-time provider, and the OT will be by hour with the limited number of students that need both. At this time, I do not have a student that has an IEP for physical therapy. If we needed a physical therapist, that would be added separate on the separate contract.
Okay. Well, can you tell us why there's that discrepancy? It shouldn't be annual.
Yes, they originally provided me with an annual contract, and per the directive of my business manager last year, he asked that I have them break it up into 2 semesters. And so therefore, when it came time to renew it, we renewed it the same way, because we did not know at the time when we were going through this process who the new business manager would be.
Well,
There
the
are
business manager
some-
doesn't matter, but here's
Yeah.
the thing, I think they got to clean that up, because we're spending a lot of money. I don't expect to spend a lot of money when they're just filling everything else in there. I mean, an annual thing is fine, but then that should be annual there. Now, what about the discrepancies in the weeks?
I can correct that. I think it was based on a prior calendar, but I can work with them and have them fix it. And you can state today, with your permission, that I'll get it fixed and then get a signature.
We'll decide how we make our
or-
motion.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it is an option. They're very, very eager to work with us.
Well, yeah, they're making a lot of money, I'd be too, yeah, just
But they're-
whatever, fill in anything, just give us the money.
Oh, no,
Have them, unless you people want to just vote for it, I mean, let's get a corrected thing here, and let's have some accuracy to high dollar amounts. I don't mind if it says, I don't think any of the other board members mind if it's annual or semi-annual, but list it correctly.
Will this delay the services to start the school year, or do we have time for next month, Dr. Richards?
Well, our next board meeting isn't until August, so it would be after the school year started. However, if it would please the board, we can begin the school year and start the service, but because we're not going to get close to the procurement threshold until several months from now, so we can easily bring this back in August for full approval, but there's no reason why we couldn't start a purchase order to begin providing services to students from now until the August board meeting, if it pleases the board.
Did you review this when it came in?
I did, but I'll have to be honest with you, I wasn't well at the time, so I didn't look for the nitty-gritty details like that. We used this company last year. We've been very, very happy with the service that they've provided, and I just missed a couple of items like that. We originally received an annual contract, and we asked them to split it to a semi-annual, so I didn't catch the mistake. I apologize.
Well, I don't mind if it's annual. I mean, it just makes it more confusing when you do it this way. I think it's
I was directed to do that. I apologize.
by the last person.
The last business manager, yes.
Well, I think do it a new way this time.
Yeah.
Well, let's clear up that language. I think that's a fair point. When you're having money being delegated like this, it should be pretty crystal clear with no room of ambiguity. So clear it up, and then I think that's, unless,
We don't have any preference. If you're going to keep it annual, just put the numbers annual. If you're going to keep it
Yeah, right.
6 months, then just put the title on top as 6 months.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to table, or?
All right, so based on consensus, do we have a motion to table 7.1?
Motion is table 7.1.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay. We're moving on, that motion is, 7.1 is tabled, excuse me. Moving on to 7.2, discussion and possible action on schools PLP proposal.
Mr. President, members of the board, PLP is a software that we use for our credit recovery and for our CRUHSD Academy students and the remote learning, and for credit recovery. And we have an increase in the number of students with special needs, special education students needing individual education plans, and unfortunately a decrease in the number of certified special education teachers to help write those plans. So by utilizing PLP, they provide that service for us to help supplement the needs of writing IEPs to provide those services for our special education students. You'll note that the price on here is $50,000, but there's another, I think it's 46,000. If you add that 46,000 to our normal PO, which is $50,000, we're getting real close to that, again, to that $100,000 threshold for procurement. So I wanted to ask board approval for this, just to ensure that we don't have any audit findings.
My only, and I talked to this Brian today. He seems like a nice guy. But there's no contract there. Yeah, he mentioned he knew you. There's no contract there. That was my only concern. Now, he told me that it's only a one-year contract. It doesn't have an automatic renewal. There's no increase in price as time goes on. It seemed like he was a good guy and a good company, so I'm inclined to vote for it. But in the future, we need they have to send a contract, and we can't really review it. At least the other company did, this Presence Learning. At least they sent their contract. But this one we just got a 3-page estimate there. As you click on that, it's 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, how do you, and one is just a like infomercial picture, and next is kind of that, and then here you go, that's it. So.
And they assist year-to-year contracts, so this
Yeah,
is
but-
all they've ever done.
Well, I mean, we look at all the contracts, so that's what we have to do, because you don't know what is in those things. And we can't just go on, hey, I know this guy, because it has to be more official than that. But I talked to him, he seemed a good guy, that he's not pushing some DEI agenda. So and it seemed like all the tenets of his contract were one-year contract, no automatic renewal, we don't have to bring it to the board 90 days ahead of time. So I'm okay with voting on that if the other board members are without a contract here. But like I said, we got to bring contracts. How do you guys feel? How do you feel, Dennis?
Yeah, I think that's a fine concern about the contract thing, and we've used this before, but yeah, we should have an official contract. I think that's just necessary to prevent any arbitrary discrepancies and any conflicts in the future. It just makes sense.
Do you have a template that you can use to draft a contract for next year?
Yeah, we certainly can. In dealing with these types of companies in the past, it's sort of like a service. So if for some reason we are not pleased with what they are doing and what they're providing, we just stop paying them. And the way our payment works is we would know before we pay them whether or not they're meeting our needs. So if they're not meeting our needs, we just stop paying them. So for that reason, and we've used this company for several years and have not had an issue, but in a scenario where they were not meeting our expectations, we would just call them up and say we're out, and we would find a different company to provide the service. There are plenty of companies that provide this service.
And you're happy with this company?
Yes, I think it's really worked for us. They've done some upgrades. Mr. Moore has been working closely with them. And they have been meeting our needs even since before I arrived here. And Ms. Brown has a little bit of a history with them as well, and she could probably speak to them too.
Yes, they've been very, they're always right on things, and any reduction, they'll give us a rebate on anything. But I do believe we need this before school starts because they'll need to start having IEP meetings.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, it passes. Moving on to 7.3, discussion and possible action on Heart Spring Service Agreement for Student Service.
Mr. President, members of the board, we do have a student that requires full-time care in a living facility that is out of state. We really don't have a choice here, as this service is mandated by law. We will receive high-need student reimbursement at the end of the year, which will cover a large portion of this. But for procurement reasons, we will need the board to approve this.
A motion to approve Heart Spring Service Agreement.
Second.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, passes. Moving on to 7.4, discussion and possible action on ESI contracting and retired educators.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is a service that we did offer for one employee this past year. It allows people who have, educators who have retired, to continue working for the district for 1 year while they receive their pension. Its intention is to fill high-need areas. We did have, like I said, one employee use it this year. It's not something the district historically has used, but some other employees have inquired as to whether or not, they're getting ready to retire. Can they use this service as well? And I would like some clarification or some guidance from the board on this. But I think it would be helpful for the board to decide, is this something that the board wants to allow the district administration to decide, whether, at the discretion of the district administration, who can go on ESI contract? Does the board want to not utilize ESI at all? Does the board want to use it completely? Does the board only want to use it for certain high-need areas like special education and math? But I think it would be helpful for the district if the board could kind of weigh in on this and perhaps decide on whether or not we want to use this ESI contracting at all.
Well, let me ask you something. How did this ESI give birth? How did this happen?
So there is a law that once a educator retires, they start to draw their Arizona state pension, they cannot work for a school district for at least 1 year. A number of years ago, and I don't know when, but companies like ESI came so that, let's say a teacher in a teacher shortage area, like let's say math, a teacher retired after 30 years, and the district cannot find a math teacher. The teacher would be hired by ESI, the district would pay ESI, and then that teacher can draw their pension and receive a salary from a company like ESI for 1 year.
So it seems like to me what ESI is trying to do is circumvent the spirit of what the legislature wanted. Well, what's going on with the noise here? Is that?
They're letting her know.
Darlene, we can hear you like reverberating some kind of noise there. Can you mute it until you talk?
Yes, I will.
Anyway, thank you. And anyway, it seems to me that the spirit of what the legislature wanted is to not have these people finding a time where they can retire, then immediately get rehired and are making substantially more than they made if they didn't retire. Is that am I right on that, or am I wrong on that?
I believe so. That was probably the spirit of the law. That would just be my guess, though.
And I don't know. I just find a hard time with that. If somebody wants to continue working, then continue working. But if you want to then retire to get your, how much of the pension do they usually make? What percentage roughly is it? It's probably different with every job, but
Just a guess would be people usually draw about 80% of what their income was when they retire. It's a rough guess.
and then, so they could make 80%, they're making 100 grand, say, and they're going to only make 80 this next year as when they're retired. And then they can come back under this ESI thing and make, say, 100 minus whatever postage and handling this ESI company takes. And then they get the rest of that, in addition to their retirement.
That's correct.
It would seem to me that that's why the legislature said, you know, we can't do this. You can't have somebody retire and then you come back and work and then you make all this money and you're making, you know, pushing double what you almost made. So, I don't know. I think we got to get, how do you
What?
guys?
Well,
I
what
think
was,
we gotta get rid of
what
this
was the
CSI.
reason?
This is such a scam.
So you used this, what was the context around doing this?
This was used because we had a moment in time where it looked like we may have 2 high school principal openings at the same time with very limited applicants. And so Mr. Wilcox was planning to retire, and he agreed that he would stay for 1 more year if he could do this. And the board had previously, in the past, approved it, so we moved forward with the understanding that it would be for 1 year. But in doing so, other employees have said, hey, can I do this too?
Okay.
And I would just like some clarification.
So the reason why we did it, it was unusual circumstances.
Yes.
Based on the openings that we had. So
Yes.
this is not something that we did, this was something that we needed, and so that was the way to accomplish it,
Yes, sir.
right? Okay.
Well, and we have used it in the past
Right.
for teachers who were leaving, and we couldn't get a math teacher, and so they agreed to come back and teach. So we have used this back over, you know, the 10, 15 years. So it is a good way, you know, we could limit, they know administrations, but teachers in high need areas, it's a helpful way to keep teachers in an area where you cannot find a teacher.
What happened after they retire for 1 year? This is only to get them back in the same year. What happens after?
They didn't retire. They came right back.
Yeah.
They finished that year, they got their retirement pay, and they came back seamlessly.
So according to the legislation, can they come back from retirement 3 years later?
Yeah, so after the 1 year with ESI, then they can be rehired by the district. That's typically what
Yeah,
happens.
1 year they can go back into the retirement system. My husband retired, but he went to Vegas for a year and then he came back to the system.
So, okay, so the fear is, from what you're coming from, is you had to do this, you thought it was important to do because of the circumstances. You don't want this to be something that's an expectation. These were unusual circumstances that you had to address. Is that right?
Yeah, I would like to have some guidance or some clarification from the school board on how they feel about this and what the district wants to do moving forward with this program like this.
Here's the thing, this is what I think. If somebody wants to retire, then move on. If you want to retire and come right back so you can make more money, come on. There's a new generation of people, let them move in. If you don't want to retire, then stay working. If you want to retire, then move on and let the next generation come up and step up to the plate. Like we have, the Moores here stepping up to the plate, thank God. We don't need to have these people retire, then stay, and then try to come back, and it's just a money-making ordeal that I just don't think we need. The taxpayers do not need that to be paying people, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7% of what they did, or not 150% of what they made the year before. So I just don't think we should do that.
The problem is we're not getting, and the education system is not having teachers go into the colleges. So there are some high needs areas where we need a teacher, and it's better to have a teacher coming back than a long-term sub.
Well, yes, I hear that, but it's they're gaming the system. Don't you realize that, Ms. Brown, what they're doing? They're gaming the system. It's not like these people like retired and they were sitting at home for 2 years and we're there, please come back. No, they quit 1 year and they come back the very next year seamlessly. That kind of reeks of, scam to me.
So to me, it would seem if maybe this should be at solely the discretion of this, and only in great moments of need where there's literally no other option. That's the only way I could ever see this happening. It would just be happenstance of just not having things. I totally agree. That's like double dipping.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is
That's exactly what it
at
is.
that point it's not good. But if it's only at extraordinary need, which I think would be probably in the best position of the superintendent maybe to understand that. I don't know if any other board members have any thoughts on that, but
I agree with you on that.
because I agree with Dr. I agree with everyone said, this is something that I don't think should be encouraged because it is literally doing double at the taxpayer expense.
I don't feel like it should be encouraged, but
No.
I had such a between a rock and a hard place because I do know that there are some high, like in-demand classes that we do need math teachers and things like that. It's just how do you keep people from taking advantage of it? I don't know.
They either retire or they stay working.
I think what was said is if we know that it's absolutely necessary and it's coming back to the board that it is a decision that we have to make at the time, I don't want to jeopardize a class. If we're pushing for honors classes, we're pushing for dual enrollment classes, we're pushing for all that. If we don't have the teacher and we have a big number of students taking that class and we're going to get them with a sub, I think it will be something that will bring to the table. But just to have a blanket that it is something that we're going to adopt, I don't agree to that.
Well, the problem is, here's what happens. You have someone that'll come in a couple years from now, after Dr. Richard retires, whenever that'll be, hopefully not anytime soon. And then all of a sudden that's snuck in there. Because I have to say, when some of these other people, I've been on the board for, I don't know, this is my second term, but it's not very clear. That's why I wanted to make this very clear tonight, how they do that, because it's very sneaky. And once you put it out there and you just unfold it for the people to look at, they're like, yeah, that's kind of sneaky. So I think we should have something where we don't use this. If we need to, he can bring it back up to us and we can vote each individual person that if we ever want it. But to leave it on there is like a ticking time bomb that we don't know what's even happening. They're putting these people, we don't have them, let them go, they retired, we'll do this ESI. I don't think we should have it on there because it's too, if it weren't for Dr. Richard, we still wouldn't know what this is about. Thank God he brought this forward so we can see what it's about. And I think that what we should do is get rid of it. If in the future they need somebody, and like you said, I don't want to cancel a class. If it's forced with either having somebody and do this, I'm okay with it rather than cancel a class. But to leave that on there where they can use this company, it's too scary.
So basically, if we were to make a motion, it would be, if this is needed, it would have to be approved by the board, each in
Exactly.
specific example, so
Exactly.
that, because even if Dr. Richards does a good job with this, if there was a future superintendent, this could be a system that could be very easily
It was
abused.
very easily abused.
Right.
Because it was happening right under my nose and I had no clue what it even was about.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we do not use ESI, and if there is some need, that it will be brought by the superintendent to the board for voting on each individual time that it's absolutely necessary.
I'll second that. Any further discussion on this?
I agree with that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. The ayes have it. We're going to go on to 7.5, discussion and possible action on the adoption of fiscal year 2025-2026 expenditure budget.
Madam President, members of the board, thank you for being here tonight. We have a slight change from the proposed budget from last month's board meeting. We received a newer net assessed evaluation figures from the state superintendent's office. Our assessed valuation went up from 751 million to 752 million. This just lowered our tax rate from 1.6243 to 1.6242. And then it increased our Class B bonds from 0.3268 to 0.3753, but it's still lower than last year's tax. That's the only changes from last month's proposed budget.
Make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, passes. Moving on to 7.6, discussion and possible action on sole source vendors for 2025-2026 school year.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is our annual request for the board to approve sole source vendors. If you guys can open that. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at this, but one example would be of ACT, which is the very top one. We are required by the state of Arizona to administer the ACT exam. We have to purchase that resource, so we really don't have a choice. Procurement would require us to get 3 quotes, which would be meaningless because we have to use ACT. So by approving ACT as a sole source vendor, that enables the district to just purchase that resource without having to get the additional 2 quotes. That would be the case for everything on this list. If you look on the left side is the vendor, and on the right side is a brief description of the justification of why we're asking for board approval.
So you could compare this to like administrative bloat that's kind of superfluous, like it doesn't really, because you only have one sole source and there's no reason to get other quotes. Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of examples on here that stand out, like College Board, for example. They're the only ones who do AP exams and AP testing, so we would ask the board to allow us to just do our purchase order with them rather than try to get quotes, because there really isn't another College Board or a similar entity that does AP exams.
Well, and looking at the list, they all match, I agree with you, all should be sole source.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. It makes sense to me. If anyone else has anything like to add to that? Okay, do we have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the sole source vendor list provided by Dr. Richard.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay. Moving on to 7.7, discussion and possible action regarding S3 Group, land near Fieldhouse State and Land Auction, authorization to bid at the auction, possible action regarding state land trust.
Well, I wanted this on here, just kind of see what you guys thought about this. They had another auction for the land, and the S3 Group was a no-call, no-show for the auction. Now, they were the only qualified bidder for that property. The state gave it roughly, I think it was maybe just under $5 million was what the state wanted for it, and the S3 Group was the only one that put the application, and they were a no-call, no-show for a second time now. So I'm not sure what they're doing, but this is what I suspect. I don't know, I don't talk to them, but I'm just thinking, it's been a while since we've gone back and forth with them and having our attorney look at the deal we had with them, and I think with the passage of time, what's probably happened is they've got probably limited capital resources like everyone, and they're looking at Flagstaff, they're looking at Tucson, they're looking at, Phoenix area, and they probably found maybe some better deal somewhere, or they're considering a better deal, and they're waiting on something to happen. Maybe they need a city council to rezone something, and then they're going to put the capital in Flagstaff or somewhere. But I don't know why they were a no-call, no-show for a second time at the auction for the land. That has me a little concerned. And here's what I think. If we don't act, something else is going to happen here, and then we're going to be left without being able to get those acreage.
So the fear would be if they had, because the whole time constraint was based on the auction, that they had no call, no show. So a fear that comes to my mind is if there's an auction suddenly real quick and we don't notice, and then maybe something like that.
Well, some other group could come in.
Right.
I mean,
right.
maybe S3 is associated with an S4 group, and they're going to come in
Right.
and buy the land and give it to S3 somehow and cut us out of it. Or possibly just some other person that wants to buy the land could come in and buy it, and they have no agreement with us. Or this is just going to take the passage of time, and we're still doing nothing, and we still want our, we negotiated 5 acres. I more agree with Murad. He said, let's try to get 10, 15 acres where we can, really do something. Now, when you talk to the state land trust, they only want to give it to, we're the primary group that gets it. School districts are number one. However, they have the one caveat that you have to be increasing in enrollment, which we are not. But I think we have a special kind of situation here where we're landlocked and we don't even have enough room for parking. And I think we have to try to get that property either, filling out an application and trying to buy it off them, because I don't think if a school district buys it, it even goes to auction. I think they either give it to us or we pay some, minimal price for it. But I think we have to try to make an application to them, and if they try to say no, I think we have to maybe even file suit against the Arizona Land Trust and try to get that property. As I think when the state looks at it in a larger sense, they're going to say, listen, this is a school district. This isn't some private company trying to get rich on anything. We're trying to, plan for our future. It's obvious that when they originally planned this building, there's not enough parking for an event. And you all know that. I mean, it's like they're parking on the street, they're getting bussed over, they're parking over in Boot Barn. So I think that we have to do something here proactively, because I'm very suspicious of why this S3 group is, kind of disappeared.
We had the agreement sent to them via our lawyer Ashley, and they have not signed it, is my understanding.
That's the latest information, is we're awaiting a signature.
Yeah, I think the fear is valid. I mean, it's trust but verify.
Are they hoping the price will go down from the state land trust?
I don't think the state land trust, when you talk to them, this is the price. If you want it, fine. If you don't, bye. I don't think that they're waiting for that. I mean, if they're going to do this, huge venture here, I don't think they're going to squabble about, 4.7 and 4.25 million. I just don't see that when they're going to spend $100 million on the rest. I just don't see that's the issue. I think more likely is they're looking at somebody, city council in Flagstaff said, hey, look at this option we have here. We're going to give you this, no taxes. We're going to give you this down in Tucson. And they're looking at, hey, this is a pretty good deal. And one caveat, we have to change the zoning, and they're waiting on that. They're waiting on some zoning change or their due diligence somewhere else. Meanwhile, we're up here thinking we're getting 5 acres, and that's not going to happen.
Has our lawyer contacted them?
Well, apparently the city tried, as the newspaper article said, I guess the city tried to contact them, and they couldn't get a hold of them. If Toby Cotter can't get a hold of them, I don't know anybody can.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know how.
Dr. Richards, have you investigated this, putting our application for this acres before, or?
We did. We
did.
We tried to do our own, and they said, since you're not growing and you don't do any educational things here, you can't have it. But, when we said we're going to talk to the governor, they started getting a little nervous. So you remember we said, all right, forget it. We'll just talk to the governor. Well, wait a minute. We'll file a lawsuit. Wait a minute. So they were, they certainly weren't like, it's impossible to get it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Could you go back to the same group that you were talking before and see?
Yes, my recommendation would be to draft a letter that we could send to them, asking for what Dr. Cardone is recommending, and see what their response is.
To be clear, is the recommendation to outright buy it ourselves?
Well, I think when it's a school district, they give it to you. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind paying some price for it, not some crazy money for it, but I think let's try to get it given to us, because that's really what they do. They give it to us. I mean, I don't even mind paying a little bit for it, but, I mean, some fair market value, but I don't want to get into a bidding war at some auction where we're like going against somebody else trying to buy 5-10 acres off us, and they outbid us, and, you know, we've kind of put a bullet in our foot.
I think the question would be, if we go back, we were told by the State Land Trust very clearly that there would not be an auction until we had an agreement with the S3 group. Now, if the S3 group is not going to follow through with the auction, I think we have every right to ask the State Land Trust, so now what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that if we don't do something proactively, something might happen against the district, and then we're like, oh, look at this. Some other group came in here and they bought it, and we don't have an agreement with, you know, J9, and we're here with worrying about S3, and all of a sudden they bought it and they're, you know, doing something we don't really, you know. it's not in
I
our
was just
best
a little
interest.
disappointed because the State Land Trust promised our district that they would help us out here, that they would
Exactly.
put some pressure on the S3
Exactly.
group, and this was almost a year ago, and our meetings with the State Land Trust, I thought they were advocates for public education, and I thought that they cared about our kids, and they cared about our community, and they wanted good things to happen for our school district, so I'd like to believe that they still feel that way, and I think we should give them an opportunity to make good on those statements that they made to us.
Well, I'll make it.
We ought to send a letter to them,
Yeah.
ask what, you know, what's up and what can we do?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we fill out a formal application for, how many acres do you guys think? At least 10, I think. I think Marahi was right. Did you say 15 before? I can't remember what you said.
10.
All right.
10.
That's okay with me. I think 5 is a little bit less. They were giving us 5, but if we're asking for it, I think we ask for 10, make a formal application that we would like to embark upon the process to acquire the land adjacent to us, just to the east, for 10 acres, just to the east of us, that has road front property, not behind it.
I second that motion. Any further discussion on this? Okay, we have a motion. Go ahead, Darlene Brown, sorry.
I just said we could see the governor with that letter.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a very good idea.
Excellent. Okay, we have motion second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. All right, moving on to 8.1, setting time, date, and location. So there's a little error on here. In the previous meeting, we agreed that it would be actually August 18th, which is the third Monday. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think there's no problem with that. That works for me as well. So it's actually going to be the August 18th will be the next meeting.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned.